Hello, everyone. I'm Anna Krasa, Education Advisor at Moodle, and I would like to welcome you all to our Moodle Academy webinar entitled Pushing the Limits of Moodle as an LTI Tool. Today, with me, we have the pleasure to have three people from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign who are going to talk about it. Specifically, we have Riana Beachy-Hasenick, Moodle Service Manager, Liam Moran, Senior Software Developer, and Gosha Nikiforov, Infrastructure Engineer. And Riana, the floor is all yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Anna, and thank you everyone for joining us. We're really excited to be here to present our talk, Pushing the Limits of Moodle as an LTI Tool. Like Anna said, we're from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. My name is Riana Beachy-Hasenick. I'm the Moodle Service Manager, so I oversee all changes that we make to Illinois' Moodle instances, including updates and any custom development work that we do, like this LTI project that we'll be talking about.
And I'm Liam Moran. I'm the senior software developer. So I recently joined the team after a fairly long career doing kind of video media server support and tech on that end of things.
And my name is Gosha Nikiforov. I am the infrastructure engineer that's responsible for keeping Moodle running on our campus.
All right, so in our presentation today, I'm going to talk about the LMS landscape at the University of Illinois, talk about our Moodle LTI tool that we've been developing, and then discuss user experience, feedback, and some of the improvements that we've made. Liam will then talk about the technical implementation of the LTI, and Gosha will talk about our Moodle infrastructure upgrades. And then we will have time for questions and discussion at the end. All right, so at the University of Illinois, we have always had more than one LMS. There historically has been one centrally supported LMS that is available to everyone on campus, but then individual colleges or departments may use a different LMS. So our unit is within the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, which is the largest college within the university. LAS adopted Moodle at 2005 at the request of our faculty, and we have hosted and maintained our own Moodle instance since then. We have a very strong user base who loves Moodle and who has spent the last 20 years creating content that can only be created in Moodle, using the flexibility and specific content types that other LMSs do not offer. To give you an idea of the size of our Moodle instance, we reached peak usage during the early pandemic, and we had an average of around 900 courses and 25,000 unique users per semester. And our philosophy has always been really focused on user experience, and we have made many, many custom changes to our Moodle based on our user needs. But in the past few years, there has been a campus-wide push for the consolidation of these different LMSs to only use the centrally supported one, which right now is Canvas. So students want to log into one LMS rather than two or three, and administration agrees that we should simplify. So in June 2023, our college leadership decided that LAS courses must be offered on Canvas by fall 2024. But we knew many of our users would not be able to simply move to Canvas, and that they would lose many of their pedagogical materials that they've spent years creating. So we came up with another solution, the Moodle LTI. So with new capability introduced in the Moodle 4 update, we were able to configure a Moodle environment to act as an external tool in the Canvas environment. So just like other external tools that one can use in Canvas, Moodle activities or entire Moodle courses can be embedded within a Canvas shell. So courses are accessed from Canvas, solving students' concerns over multiple points of access, while still allowing instructors to retain the materials and specific features of Moodle that they're dependent on. So if you're not familiar with the Canvas LMS, it was designed for simplicity. So as you can see in these photos, there are only 8 content types that you can add in Canvas, as opposed to Moodle's many more options. The idea with Canvas is that anything that's missing can be added via external tool, which makes Moodle the perfect fit for an LTI in Canvas and replaces the need for having many other LTIs in Canvas, since Moodle does so much. We also believe that promoting Moodle as an LTI tool has the potential to increase Moodle's usage worldwide, since every Canvas instance is a potential platform for a Moodle LTI integration. So to start work on this Moodle LTI tool, we first created a fresh Moodle server so we could make customizations specific to our LTI needs. The codebase and site admin settings were duplicated from our production Moodle environment so that overall it would behave the same way that instructors were used to. Before we could configure it in Canvas, it had to go through the approval process that our central IT unit conducts on all LTIs for Canvas. So this included a vendor risk review, which assesses security and privacy, as well as an accessibility review. And you can see the workflow diagram here outlining the steps that we needed to take to get it approved. And we got it up and running within a few months. We knew there was still a lot of work to be done on it, but we wanted a small group of users to start using it as soon as possible so that we could spot bugs and get feedback from actual instructors. So we reached out to some of our most experienced Moodle users, and we had 9 courses piloted for the fall 23 semester. And so this semester was integral in getting the LTI functional. We resolved a lot of bugs, figured out how instructors needed it to work, and we fixed user experience issues. In spring 2024, we had 48 courses as word started to spread within departments and we advertised a little more heavily. And then our official launch of the LTI tool was last semester, fall 24, where we had 137 courses using the LTI tool. And then this semester, spring 25, we have 127 courses. And we're still doing a lot of work on improving the tool. So since the start, we've been breaking work down into sprints where we prepare for a downtime and really treating it as a software development project. And in these sprints, we balance urgent bugs reported by users or that we uncover in testing, requested features, and then bigger picture improvements that may be more behind the scenes or not quite as urgent. So we have 2 LTI options for our users. So they can either embed an entire Moodle course or they can embed individual activities. So entire course has been the most popular option so far. It's really the easiest option to get content from Moodle to Canvas quickly. So you can see in the screenshot, an entire Moodle course has been embedded within the Canvas shell that you can see kind of at the top and on the left-hand side of the page. So the Moodle course shows up as only one link or one activity in Canvas, which does create a few complications. So this means that only one item shows up in the Canvas gradebook. So it's important for users to refer to the Moodle gradebook for the full breakdown of activities. This also means that each activity within the Moodle course shares the same Canvas URL. So instructors have to be a little creative in how they refer students to a specific page in the Moodle course. So the other option is to embed individual activities within a Canvas site. So the idea with this option is to have Moodle activities alongside native Canvas ones, with Moodle activities filling in the gaps of what Canvas cannot offer. So this option has been less popular so far, but we expect this to be used more in the long-term usage of the tool as instructors learn more about how to use Canvas tools, but may be missing a specific functionality that is available in Moodle. And so with this option, every activity is its own link in Canvas, so they show up individually in the Canvas gradebook without any differentiation from Canvas activities. All right, so as Moodle Service Manager, I'm the liaison between our clients and our technical team. And so when we get feedback from users, I distill it and then discuss with my team whether we want to pursue developing it or not. And so first I wanted to share some general feedback that we've received about the LTI. So in general, our users are really grateful that they are able to keep using Moodle while campus is pushing them to use Canvas. So many have noted that Canvas on its own simply does not meet their needs and that they would lose crucial parts of their course if they were unable to keep using Moodle. So many of our instructors use Moodle tools such as Scheduler, Attendance, Questionnaire, Workshop, which really are not possible to replicate with Canvas alone. And one thing we were concerned about was student experience. Would it be confusing for students to have a Moodle site or Moodle content embedded within their Canvas sites? Opinions on this have varied a bit, and we're still trying to get feedback on this, but we have heard from some instructors that it has been a seamless experience for their students, and the students don't actually realize that they're using another system within Canvas. So next, I'm going to go through a few of the user interface improvements that we've made. So when we were first designing the tool, we knew it needed to feel like a seamless part of Canvas, but shouldn't be too different from what our users were familiar with. So we removed the top navigation in Moodle. We removed breadcrumb navigation and activities, and we matched text colors with our Canvas instance. And since we removed some of the navigation, we added a few small things back in. So we added a link to the course main page in the index, and then we added what we're calling a user chip in the upper right corner, where instructors can access edit mode as well as their preferences. And our most requested improvement was to expand the space that the LTI takes up in Canvas for instructors. So our quick solution to this was adding in this open and new tab button in the user chip, as you can see in the screenshot, which would open up the course on the Moodle server for instructors rather than them just seeing it within Canvas. And so this gave them more editing room. But later, using the post message API so that Moodle could control the layout in Canvas, we were able to remove these unnecessary side panels that you can see here. And so the panel on the right was not useful for either type of LTI. It just had a button to edit the Canvas activity, so we removed that panel completely. And then on the left is a collapsible course navigation for the Canvas site. So we collapse this by default in entire course embeds since they don't really need Canvas navigation, but we do leave it open in individual activity embeds since they do need to navigate the Canvas course. All right, the next improvement that I'm going to mention is the LTI picker. So this is how you add LTI activities to a Canvas site. By default, it shows you a list of every activity that you have access to, but this quickly gets cumbersome for site admins, course coordinators, and anyone else with access to a lot of Moodle sites. So we added a tab that displays the activities that are available for the specific Canvas site you're in, and we put everything else that you have access to in the second tab. So this next image is just a mock-up of our future plans for the LTI picker. We want to have the option for users to add new individual Moodle activities directly from Canvas without needing to first create them in Moodle and then go back to Canvas to add them to their course. And so this is based both on feedback from users who have wanted to add ad hoc activities that didn't exist in a past course of theirs, as well as our plan to expand the LTI usage to Canvas users who may be missing one specific functionality in their Canvas courses. We have also made a few improvements for our site admins. So in the past year, we as admins have mostly been adding the LTI for instructors, but we do plan to move towards a more self-service model in the future. And we added an automation to batch publish LTI activities instead of having to click through the process for each activity. And then we also added these two force sync buttons that allow us to manually sync the grade and roster tasks from the UI, which has been really useful. And then next, here are a few of the functionality improvements alongside the feedback that we got requesting them. A really big one was notifications. We initially disabled notifications because we didn't want students to be confused by receiving Moodle emails from their Canvas course. But we very quickly heard from instructors that they really need notifications, especially from forum and scheduler activities. So forums to see any replies to students' discussion posts, and schedulers to receive reminders about upcoming appointments. And so we were able to configure redirects so that any links pointing towards Moodle in the emails actually get redirected to the proper Canvas course or activity. And then at the beginning, there were a couple of activities that weren't working properly that we were able to fix. So questionnaire was not initially gradable and workshop wasn't sending grades correctly. We've also made a lot of improvements to our roster and grade syncing tasks, made them run much more efficiently. And then a really important thing for our users was that rosters can sync without users having to first launch into the LTI. And so the reason for this was so that instructors can use activities that rely on having the list of enrolled students before some students may have accessed the course, so such as attendance. And then the last thing that I'm going to go over is some of our upcoming improvements that we hope to make. So many of these are also based on feedback that we have received from users. And something that we hope to start soon is a focus group of users to provide more specific feedback on mockups and future plans. And so I already mentioned our proposed LTI picker change. And since we'll be moving from it being mainly used by admins to being used by instructors. That's the first topic that we hope our focus group can comment on and help us with. We also want to continue refining the user interface of the LTI to improve its ease of use based on feedback that we've received. And then a really big area that we hope to improve is student experience. So we want to begin getting more feedback directly from students. So most of what we've gotten so far has really been secondhand from their instructors. We have heard that some students would prefer being able to pop the LTI open into a new tab like we allow for instructors. And we don't really see a problem with this since many other LTI tools allow this. But we do want to prevent students from accessing the Moodle dashboard. So if they do pop open the LTI, right now they would have access to the Moodle site navigation, and we want to restrict them to only viewing the course that they launched into. And then a really big thing that would improve the student experience is more compatibility with the Canvas calendar. So a lot of students rely very heavily on the calendar to keep track of their assignments, and by default, Moodle LTI activities do not appear in the Canvas calendar. And then lastly, we're still working on perfecting our roster sync task to ensure that rosters between course sites are not overlapping. And Liam's going to talk about a bit more about this, so I will pass it on to Liam to talk more about the technical implementation.
Okay, so the vast majority of our courses are in person, and for most of them, the LMS is very much peripheral to the classroom. It's a place far away from where the instruction happens. There might be a calendar in the LMS, a bin for students to drop off their homework, and a means for the teacher to distribute the reading assignments. So what they want is an online analog for these real-world places. On the left, an elementary school bulletin board with some cubbies for students to turn in their homework, and on the right, a copy room that is located upstairs from my office in a university-level department office. Anything more than this is deemed an imposition by teachers. And these basic functions are what Canvas is designed to provide as simply as possible. So majority rule is why Canvas is our centrally adopted LMS and why we've been challenged with the task of pushing the limits of Moodle's LTI tool functionality. So for online instruction, that the learning management system is designed as an analog of the copy room instead of a classroom is an obvious problem where the LMS is the classroom for these online courses. So an uncontroversial perspective is that Canvas was positioned as the first to market NGDLE, Next Generation Digital Learning Environment, the base plate on which the learning components are snapped in place to construct a functional learning experience via industry standards from organizations like OneEdTech, formerly IMS Global, who governs standards like Learning Tools Interoperability, LTI, and Caliper, or military training organizations with standards like SCORM or XAPI, short for Experience API, and formerly called TinCan, with those building blocks curated at eduappcenter.com, also managed by Instructure. The NGDLE concept is due to a 2015 white paper published by EDUCAUSE that is linked here if you are unfamiliar with it. And then back in 2017, I wrote an article for the trade magazine Streaming Media that investigated some of the then unresolved issues with this federated edtech concept that would give pause to administrators accustomed to managing monolithic learning management systems and that vendors should work to resolve. So among them, a federated NGDLE doesn't have a central activity data event stream. So snapped-on LTI activities are black boxes as far as the backbone LMS is concerned. And what students are clicking on in the activity isn't included in the LMS's event reporting, which in Moodle are extremely detailed and very useful for teachers and administrators. This limitation is true for all LTI activities, including tools plugged into Moodle. The LMS simply can't record clicks on embedded content hosted on third-party domains. There's also no way to take a comprehensive system-wide snapshot of a federated NGDLE, and no way to completely and reliably restore state to some previous point across the board in a disaster recovery scenario. So components of the learning environment update on their own schedules and outside of the administrator's control. Settings made at the backbone LMS do not filter down to embedded LTI activities. One example that we've seen is where students turn off notifications in Canvas, and then they get upset that Moodle embedded in Canvas still sends them notifications. And while working on this project, it's become clear that course reuse is the biggest problem that a well-designed LTI tool needs to account for. And since how course reuse works varies across institutions, it's difficult to implement an opinion about how it should work in the LTI tool. I'm going to go into more detail on this in a few slides because it's occupied most of my time the past few months and has been something we've been dealing with since the start of this effort. So while working on this, in any case, our university adopted the NGDLE model, and so this is the core justification for our Moodle LTI project. We could have hunted down and procured a number of third-party tools that more or less meet the needs that faculties had used Moodle for, and snapped those into the Canvas backbone. But we were fortunate to have been given the green light to push the limits of Moodle's LTI tool capabilities so that one very well understood LTI integration could meet the vast bulk of our college's current and potentially future needs. So to quickly survey how we are overcoming those shortcomings of the NGDLE model identified back in 2017, for reporting, we have not yet, but plan to start emitting caliper events from Moodle to the university's central learning records warehouse, which is built on Splunk. Moodle's caliper log store plugin has been pretty much abandoned by OpenLMS for several years, but it's based on the XAPI log store plugin that's maintained by David Pesch that is very actively maintained with over 100 new supported events added in just the past month. So good foundation to build on there. Gosha has Moodle set up for incremental backups every 4 hours, and we have robust disaster recovery plans, both for the LTI optimized and standalone Moodle environments, and the Canvas is not our problem. Personalization is not yet a priority, but we can get some user preferences from Canvas via API and apply them to Moodle if it does become one. And course reuse, as I said, is a much more complicated and consequential problem, and one that's been a major focus for the project. What we want is for teachers to be able to easily recycle their course designs while providing guarantees that new Canvas courses won't accidentally reuse an old Moodle course that was created for a Canvas course from the past. Our current policy on this is to enforce a one-to-one relationship between Moodle courses and Canvas courses in a way that doesn't overly inconvenience our faculty. Now, this is a deceptively tricky problem, and oops, I messed up an animation there. In Canvas, a teacher prepares a new terms course by importing content from typically the last time they taught the course. This process copies over the LTI settings for external tools from the previous course. Moodle does the same sort of thing for course reuse. So now they have a new Canvas course containing all the Canvas activities from the last time the course was taught, but all the Canvas due dates are updated for the new term, and student data from the last cohort is removed. The LTI activities, though, are still linking to the content from the last time the course was offered. This isn't usually noticeable since most LTI content isn't interactive. The worst effect I'd seen prior to the Moodle LTI is when a student with LTI video quizzes that allow a limited number of attempts drops a course mid-semester, then retakes it and find that they can't take the video quizzes again, since the quiz attempt limit was already reached the previous semester and they're the same user. Moodle is highly interactive, though, enabling student-to-student cooperative learning, and we want to absolutely avoid course rosters mixing like this when Canvas courses are recycled, because that's a serious privacy violation. So what we need to do is when Moodle content is clicked into from a new Canvas course, when old Moodle content is clicked into like this, we want to make sure that a new Moodle course copy with all the requested content gets made with the internal dates shifted and student data from the previous cohort cleared out. And then we need to redirect the old links to the new content prepared for that new course. So the current strategy for this is that so Moodle, the reused LTI setting that's causing the problem is this UUID. It's a resource UUID that identifies the LTI resource being linked to. The platform has no way to know what to update the UUID to in the new course for the new equivalent content stripped of the old student data. Canvas or any LTI platform uniquely identifies the platform course launching to the LTI tool with an LTI context ID sent in the launch data. And so our local LTI tool plugin has a table called context map that tracks UUIDs used by LTI context IDs, plus has fields to store custom launch data like the Canvas course ID, the Canvas module item ID, and Moodle's relative URL for the canonical view of the resource, so the view.php page for the module or the course. And that table allows us to identify when a UUID used by an old LTI context ID is being reused for a new one, and then we can rewrite it with the current UUID created for the new LTI context ID. We can redirect requests for the old content to the new content. This is done via a callback grafted into Enroll LTI's tool launch service. It also allows us to redirect unauthenticated requests for Moodle LTI pages to the Canvas page that most closely launches an authenticated user back to the requested page. This became necessary when we began re-enabling notification emails that Riana described earlier. This was accomplished by adding a pre-login page hook to auth LTI. So here's another pretty tough problem that I'm still refining my algorithm for. So this is the task that the algorithm has to perform for aligning equivalent content. Given a source course and a course that the content from the source course was just imported into, map every course module from the source course to its counterpart in the new course. Where was I? So a quirk is that unless the latest announcements block is configured at the site level to show 0 instead of 3 of the latest announcements, an announcement form will be added at the beginning of the first section every time you restore a course into another course. That's a slightly annoying thing that slows the alignment off, and I could change the restore plan to not do that, but this is still a quirk that needs to be dealt with. A consequence of our one-to-one ID number policy is that if a teacher requests for multiple Moodle courses to be made available for their Canvas course, the content for each course gets restored into the same course and appended to the end of each section. And this is the last part of the algorithm that I need to write. And basically how it works is that I take getFastModInfo for the source course and the target course after restoration. For the first time, the course modules in each section are already aligned. But for any subsequent restoration into the course, I need to take getFastModInfo on the target course first, then restore the source course in, then align the course modules from the source course to the course modules that were appended after the restoration that I can see by comparing getFastModInfo from before and after the restore operation. And after removing that extra announcements form, of course. Also, the point of this alignment is to know what redirects we need for old resource UIDs to the newly created UIDs. So we need to look up whether the old course was itself using a redirected UID in our context map table. So the course table in Moodle contains a field called ID number that we've never used at our school, but it looks like it's intended to be used to uniquely identify or to uniquely link a Moodle course to a school information system unique ID. For our purposes, Canvas is the SIS that we rely on as a source of truth for rosters and where we submit our grades. The data type for that field is a 100-character string, so it doesn't need to be a number. It could be JSON or a coded string with something like the LTI deployment ID _ platform course ID. Since we only have one deployment to deal with for now, I'm setting this to just the Canvas course ID. And since that is a unique field that enforces one-to-one. An LTI resource is a Moodle activity that has been published by the Moodle tool for use in a platform and identifiable by a UUID. A resource link is a unique instance of a platform actually using the resource by linking to it with a valid launch. Our context map table isn't currently recording resource links. We only record the LTI context ID, the unique ID for the Canvas course, and the UUID, the unique ID for the resource. This means that if an unusually designed Canvas course were to be using the same Moodle resource multiple places in the same course, our context map table wouldn't be correctly distinguishing between them. Waiting for incoming links to populate our context map table is something that we want to avoid, but thus far, I've also avoided having to make API calls against Canvas's general purpose REST API using a service account with elevated or sub-account admin permissions. However, given a correctly configured LTI 1.3 integration and just a course ID for a Canvas course with that LTI tool available, we can make use of the LTI Advantages services to collect some useful data about a new Canvas course at the time that we create a new copy of a Moodle course. So the get line items endpoint of the assignment and grade service will provide a list of all resource links that Canvas created by its import content wizard, including names for the grade items which generally would be expected to match up with the source course this content was copied from, and giving us a little help when aligning the equivalent resources across Moodle course copies. Getting these resource links right away also, and primarily, allows us to start syncing rosters immediately as well. Unfortunately, the assignments and grade services will not provide us with what UUID the resource link is trying to reach in advance of us actually handling a launch, which would have been really nice. For that, we'd need to use the general purpose Canvas REST API, which I'm reluctant to do, as I said. Also, the names and roles provisioning service, the get members call, without a resource link provided, what in Moodle we call a context level call, will provide the LTI context ID for the new course, which ordinarily can only be acquired from launch data. If we create a Moodle course and provide the Canvas course ID by specifying an ID number, we can use that metadata and this API endpoint to get the LTI context ID prior to any launch and pre-seed the context map table to anticipate any future launches for used content. So by and large, the faculty who were heavily invested in Moodle to assist with their instruction are satisfied with the LTI optimized Moodle environment we've built. Although many who use the full course embed design grumble that the one LMS campaign is ill-advised and founded on tenuous reasoning, they argue fairly that the students would have a better experience with the standalone Moodle. But faculty who this project inherited are inadequate to stay in the project. If the LTI tool is to be useful, we can't wait for the inherited Moodle course designs to attrition away. We need to make the tool extremely easy to use for Canvas first users when they first begin to find Canvas's limitation to be confining. And Riana showed the first step in that direction with the LTI picker mockup, showing Moodle's Add an Activity selection menu embedded in a tab within the Launch Deep Link view. This would be accessible to our teachers within 2 clicks from their Canvas course. That's a good first step, we think, and one that may have broad enough appeal for the core Enroll LTI component. Also, enforcing the one-to-one relation via setting the platform course ID and ID number fields simplifies the implementation for this Launch Deep Link view. So this is Launch Deep Link. It's also called the Published Resource Repository view, but we call it the LTI picker. So the resources for this course tab contains all published resources in the Moodle course created for the launching Canvas course, which we could look up with ID number. Add a new activity gives you a shortcut to create a new activity in that course or create the course entirely. And the All My Resources tab, which is currently what appears for Launch Deep Link as the only view, would no longer be meaningful. So Moodle's core value is as an open source, fully functional learning management system, or virtual learning environment, as some call it. Moodle needs first-rate LTI platform capabilities since Moodle users will want to add LTI tools to it from vendors who would rather lean into that standard instead of writing a Moodle plugin. And there's lower risk for administrators to add a vendor LTI tool than to install a plugin on your Moodle environment. And similarly, Moodle HQ has no real incentive to prioritize this LTI tool functionality beyond the basics that were accomplished in Moodle 3 of minimally upgrading from LTI 1.1 to LTI 1.3 to maintain compliance with One Ed Tech, and can rely on the community to move the component forward. And my sense is that there's growing interest in providing that support, especially in North America. So this is the latest Phil Hill and Associates LMS Squid infographic they've produced for the past 15 years. The biggest story is Canvas gobbling up Blackboard customers like us. And if you squint just right, you can see the pandemic era drop in Moodle adoption as evidence of institutions switching to a simpler LMS to accommodate the rush of teachers totally unfamiliar with online instruction. Moodle shows a slight bounce back in the latest update from the end of 2024 that may be attributable to Sakai to Moodle conversions or a post-pandemic return to normalcy where a fully featured LMS is desired again. In any case, the work we're doing, once fully matured, has the potential to convert all of these Canvas customers into Moodle using institutions. And while that's not what we're doing, that the benefit to other educational institutions isn't lost on us. And finally, our design has been to hack Moodle core as minimally as possible and to locate most of our additional features into a local plugin, both to minimize divergence during our minor upstream code updates. And since many of the features we're using are exploiting facts specific to Canvas instead of purely standards-based LTI capabilities. But we want to contribute the broadly useful features we've implemented upstream for use by other institutions and move them back into the core and roll and auth components. So I've been creating tracker issues and seeing whether there's consensus about what the rest of the community wants. Some good candidates are support for groups. Although what the community wants is for users enrolled via LTI to be put in a group to distinguish them from other sorts of enrollees, whereas our implementation is designed to mirror the platform's groups while allowing ad hoc Moodle-only group memberships to support modules like group choice. The force sync buttons and having more robust configurations for enroll and auth LTI appear to be low-hanging fruit. And a fairly recent piece of tech that I wrote are auto-publish observers so that any module or course created on an LTI-optimized Moodle environment are automatically published as LTI resources. Also, there's general agreement that different views in the LTI picker, the published resource repository, or the Launch Deep Link view, are desirable, although there's no clear consensus on what they should be. I'd like to see many options configurable cross tabs like we have, and that's a good case where close collaboration with and guidance from Moodle HQ has been of tremendous value. I wrote our multi-tab view using the fragments.js library that's included in Moodle, but Jake Dallimore, who very capably oversees the LTI components at Moodle HQ, pointed out that the dynamic tabs UI component is a much better choice for that, and he's right. And so now on to Gosha.
So as mentioned during the introduction, my name is Gosha, and I'm responsible for developing and maintaining the Moodle infrastructure on our campus. After 20 years of running Moodle, we've become pretty good at managing it effectively and reliably. So, however, with the dawn of a potentially hopefully large LTI deployment, our design will likely have to change. So here's a dense diagram of our current stack. We'll move past that rather quickly. So we're currently maintaining two separate Moodle stacks, each with at least 14 nodes, one for the regular Moodle environment and one for the LTI. The nodes are Linux VMs running in our on-prem VMware cloud, all managed with Ansible. The database is handled by a 3-node kernel cluster distributed across campus. And lastly, we maintain two separate production branches, both also deployed and managed with Ansible. This brings us to the next generation future state of our Moodle infrastructure. Over the past 6 months, we've worked to develop a production on-prem Kubernetes deployment to modernize our application hosting capabilities. This recent development is a perfect new home for a scalable Moodle, providing LTI services to the entire campus and not just our college. The 6 static web workers will become scalable PHP FPM pods. Redis would be handled by an excellent deployment from Bitnami. Cron would be handled by Kubernetes scheduled tasks. And finally, the file conversion would be handled by LibreOffice pods. All this allows for almost every component of the Moodle stack to scale live based on usage, with the only exception being the database and file servers, which would remain the same due to our existing hardware investments. So while the new infrastructure design is looking quite promising, a few challenges still remain. Firstly, code management. There are multiple pros and cons to incorporating Moodle code directly into worker images or hosting externally and mounting into the pods. This will affect how we do code updates and upgrades. Testing in the LTI environment has also proven to be a little bit challenging. Our normal strategy of cloning the production database does not work with the LTI 1.3's one-to-one and bidirectional linkage. Furthermore, a great deal of work still needs to be done to make this deployment easily maintainable. Helm will be used to deploy and template all of the Kubernetes components, but this would have to replace years of refined Ansible automation is therefore going to be a significant undertaking. And lastly, the new design will replace our, as Liam mentioned before, our aging Caliper event store, which is currently just a glorified Mongo database with a Java front end. We plan to comply with our campus initiatives and ship all the educational data to our central campus Splunk data store. So with that dense information dump, I will hand it back to Riana to conclude.
Yeah, thanks, Gosha. So looking towards the future, on our campus, we're committed to providing this tool long term and continually improving it to meet our users' needs. So right now, like Liam talked about, we're finishing a self-service course request system so that users can request the LTI without site admin intervention. We also hope to expand to other colleges within the university. So right now we're just offering the LTI to our home college, LAS, but we have other Moodle users across campus who are interested in using it as well. And something we touched on a little bit is we're starting to think about how to market the Moodle LTI to instructors who haven't used Moodle before. So maybe they're very comfortable using Canvas, but they might be missing a specific functionality that is something that can be done in Moodle. And then with the broader Moodle community, we look forward to further collaboration, balancing our need to diverge in some places to add features custom to our implementation, but also staying in sync with HQ as much as possible. And we also really look forward to getting feedback from other Moodle users around the world who may be starting to venture into using Moodle as an LTI tool. All right, and now we have time for questions. Thank you.
Thank you all. I mean, I'm really, this whole work is so impressive. I'm wondering, you're talking about Moodle. I guess your installation is a Moodle LMS, not a Moodle Workplace installation, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's take a little bit the discussions in the chat. Basically, we didn't have any questions, but if you have any questions, please, it's the it's the time to ask them or type them in the chat. They've asked which grade the item is shown, but it's already covered by Liam. That is, it aggregates the course grade. We have several comments from Marcus, very interesting and quite technical.
Can expand on the grades question.
Yes, of course.
So that was that is kind of one of the few one of the discussions that I've had with HQ is there's a preference to start deconstructing these grades, because what the Moodle Enroll LTI is it's just the simplest move from 1.1 to 1.3 compliance, and it doesn't really take advantage of some of the things you could do, like you can create line items on the platform. So right now, a Moodle course embedded in a Canvas course will only send the total grade as one line item, because that's what 1.1 could do. But 1.3 can create other line items, and so you could reproduce your gradebook on Canvas, and then every line item would be represented there individually instead of being totaled up. That's an important thing, because one of the first things we had to do was support a tool called Workshop. So it's a kind of a collaborative, multi-phase group assignment that is really popular on campus, but it also creates 2 grade items. And so that wasn't supported in the current version of Enroll LTI, and we had to kind of that was one of the first core hacks we did. And the way that I chose to do it was just to aggregate the 2 scores the same way that you would for a grade or for a course embed. And so that's what we do for that, and for forum, where forums can have multiple grade items associated with them too. So for all those multi-grade items, we just send them as one aggregated score to Canvas. But the preference for Moodle HQ would be it would be better if we were sending the line items individually. And as we kind of discussed a little bit in the chat, there are advantages to that. So if we were just separating the line items and sending them to Canvas individually, one of the effects that students would really like about that is that any grade item in Canvas becomes a calendar item in their Canvas calendar. And students really, really like that. But faculty really, really hate it, because then students are only working for anything that's grade, and they don't pay attention to anything in the class unless there's a grade associated with it. And they want them to not do that, and to, be more diligent students and more self-directed than just waiting for, due dates to do work. That's pretty much the debate there.
I think that no matter how many technical improvements and lines of code you're going to write, some things will never change on how students interpret things and how they choose to focus.
The Moodle way is to make it highly configurable so that teachers can do whatever they want to do. So it's a lot of settings.
Marcus posted a question. Could you comment on the biggest barrier to Moodle LTI integration when people first start to use it, especially when it comes to heterogeneous environment? I mean, for example, Moodle to something else, to Canvas. I mean, Moodle to Moodle is very complex to set up, but there is another level of complexity when another VLE is in the mix. And I have exchanged,
So for system administrators, I think I could answer what the biggest barrier is, and for faculty using it, I think Riana would be best to answer that. So the biggest barrier for the technical putting the systems together is that Moodle to Moodle LTI 1.3 integration is essentially magical, where they exchange all the messages themselves, and they just do it. Yeah. For Moodle to Canvas, the way that we figured out how to do it was a thread in a Canvas community forum where people were complaining for years and years about the quiz functionality, and then somebody said, we fixed it by putting Moodle into Canvas. And that's pretty much the instructional resources that we point people towards is that's how you do it. but we need to document that a little bit better, of course. And one of the things that I'd like to do with this LTI tool plugin is to do an LTI integration in Canvas. You can provide an XML file, and so being able to kind of auto generate that XML file, given the least amount of input from Canvas as possible, would be a really nice step forward for people.
Yeah, I'd like to publicly thank Liam for the help he has given me. And I've spent a lot of time looking at LTI, and I've added to the Moodle LTI documentation. And until he just said that, I think I was looking at exactly the same community post about Moodle to Canvas implementation. And I too will attempt to document what I've learned, which hugely helped by Liam. And I think that some improved documentation, it's never going to be trivial to link to a Canvas or Blackboard or what have you, but a mixture of additional documentation and possibly some tweaking or plugins to generate things could turn it into something that is hugely time consuming into something that's just a standard, moderately complex admin task. So double thanks and triple thanks again to Liam for his help.
As Marcus figured out, there's a lot of so go to Moodle and do this, go to Canvas and do this, go to Moodle and do this, go to Canvas and do this, copy this and put this. And it would be nice to see what kind of helpers we can create for that instead of having to have a couple tabs open with different sets of instruction. And then Riana for the teachers.
For faculty, I would say the biggest barrier is just kind of getting them to think of Moodle more as an LTI tool than an LMS. So they've been using Moodle for years and as an LMS, and they're like, this is the LMS. And it's been kind of a challenge to get them to understand, well, now Canvas is your LMS and Moodle is just a tool that you can put into it. And so it's been kind of challenging. And I think a lot of instructors have kind of maybe just found it too complicated and thought, I'm just going to move to Canvas. That's what's simpler. And so it has taken a lot of just kind of communication and just showing them, no, this is actually what it looks like. You can fully put your Moodle tools into Canvas. And so communicating that has been a challenge. And I think part of it, what Liam was just saying about, the technical setup of going from Moodle and then going back to Canvas and then going from Moodle, that also is on the instructor side a little bit. They can fully change settings and access edit settings from directly within Canvas, but I think since they are used to it being a standalone LMS, they do like popping it open into its own tab. They do like accessing it on the LTI server, and then they do have to go back to Canvas. So it's they're still kind of using two systems. And so I think that is a bit complex for a lot of people.
And one of the neatest things I think we've done is the redirects for unauthenticated clicks. So that was a really cool thing when we got that working. Just because LTI Auth LTI does not have a login page. The login page is the platform LMS, and so being able to redirect them to, if it's a full course embed, we can redirect them to the module item on Canvas that opens that, so they get to the course. And what we'd kind of like to do is set a cookie or something when they come in unauthenticated, and then match it up to, once they come in authenticated, to take them to the exact view that they were requesting. So if they clicked a link for some specific forum posts, once they get eventually redirected to, at best, that kind of canonical view.php page for the forum, that from there we redirect them again to the exact view that they were requesting. So for the full course embeds, the best that we can do is take them to the course right now. For the individual activities, we can take them to the module canonical view, the front page of the module.
So do you see this implementation of maintaining two systems a long-term solution? How do you feel about that? I mean, the whole development started because you had this change from one to the other, but can be this maintained as a long-term solution, considering that you will have to maintain two LMSs?
I think so. Well, no, because somebody else maintains the other LMS. So Canvas is maintained by a whole different team, and we were already maintaining a different LMS, and now we're adding the complexity of managing an integration but it's really just a matter of like, is it beneficial to the faculty and the students? Like, is the one LMS campaign really beneficial? And if it is, then we'll continue doing it as long as, we can make it a satisfying experience for the faculty and the students. And like I said, we'd have to be doing something. So we'd have to be either deploying multiple, one unitasker tools to do this. And, Rand and I looked at other schools that converted from Moodle to Canvas, and we could see like, oh, they got that for workshop, they got that for quiz, they got that for this, and that's not what we're doing. We have one thing that we run and that we already know how to run. And if it should come to be that, 5 years from now, students say, we don't like that all the courses look the same and that they're all in the same place, and we want more variety. And if that's what students start demanding, then, well, we know what to do,
Yeah. How long have you tasting this LTI? I mean, it's around for a couple of years now.
Yeah, so I would say we first started working on it in spring of 2023, so it's been about 2 years. That's when we first kind of had we knew the decision was coming, right, for all courses to need to be offered on Canvas. And so Liam discovered this option and spun up an example for our department leadership to kind of see as a proof of concept. And then they agreed to let us go forward with developing it. And so the decision came out to all LES faculty in that June of 2023. Over that summer, really, we did as much development as we could, and then we piloted it in fall 23 with around 9 courses. And that's when we got a lot of really useful feedback and were able to improve it and make it a lot more functional for future semesters.
And now this semester we have almost 12,000 total enrollments on the LTI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's robust and stable, and it means that you have done a very good job. I would be very, very interested to see how things evolve after a couple years, actually. Do you have any other questions, comments, ideas, something that would you like to discuss with our guests? I think
I could say that this isn't the first LMS that I stuffed inside of another LMS, because OpenEdX allows you to do that. And I was interested in using OpenEdX as a kind of a auto grader for machine problems a long time ago, and so I messed with that a long time ago, before Moodle 3, I think. And so this wasn't a surprise that this was something that we could do.
I think, as you said before, Liam, it definitely worth investing on documenting things in detail, and it seems that you have a very rare experience on that. I'm not a tech guy, but I hear a lot that a lot of people are struggling with LTI. Marcus just posted a comment that LTI is also important for Catalyst, which is a Moodle partner. I have been updating the documentation, and you are more than welcome to assist on that. Dave said, could multiple Canvas courses assess with LTI the same single Moodle course to use activities?
Yeah, that's the way a lot of courses, or a lot of people are using Enroll LTI, but that's not what we're doing. We're trying to prevent that from happening. So we want only one, for student privacy reasons. We want only one cohort on this course, in this Canvas course, to see one cohort in this Moodle course. But that's how a lot of vendors are delivering technology, is they set up a Moodle course and then they plug it in via LTI to multiple schools. So for that, you'd have a lot of different deployments that are all using the same course. And that's one of the reasons why we've been kind of putting all this stuff into a local plugin. So Enroll LTI and Auth LTI, the core parts of Moodle, should be primarily designed to do Moodle to Moodle integration for end-to-end testing, that sort of thing. And then you have these local plugins that kind of modify the behavior is kind of the way that I would advocate for moving forward. So if you want to integrate with multiple canvases and have this particular business model, then this is the plugin for you. If you want to do what we're doing, then the one that I wrote is what you want to use.
I think it's an interesting part of this is for, I think the setup that Liam's talking about is very advanced for a very significant university. And one of our drivers for this was to offer the stack maths question type, which that's never going to be ported to Canvas. And there's another tool which is Code Runner, which is about programming, and again that's not going to be ported natively to Canvas at any point. And this allows people to use third-party tools without having to either host or install the plugins. So in an ideal world, and this is why we're very focused on updating the documentation so that it's simply easier to use, because you can see from this presentation that it can get really arcane and hard to do. Whereas by contrast, Moodle to Moodle is very straightforward. But rather than just focusing here at Catalyst, rather than focusing on just people who are using Moodle, we want to be able to service people who are using Canvas or Blackboard or other competing tools. The issue there is that we have had to learn about those competing tools. And so my journey over the last 3 months is you can host Canvas yourself. It's not a very standard thing to do, but we have our own self-hosted Canvas. So I went down the journey of learning the very different terminology that's used in Canvas, and also very different in the sense that there isn't like a magic URL. With Moodle, you get a magic URL that fills out a form, whereas when you're doing it with Canvas, you have this thing where you read a bunch of things from a form in Canvas and you go to some fields in Moodle and you fill them in, and the names of the different fields are not quite the same. And because I tend to think that the solution to 9 out of 10 human problems is a new Moodle plugin, I have a fantasy whereby you had a drop down in Moodle that said, I see you are linking to Canvas, put in the straight URL and we'll fill in the rest of it. And that is probably, and Liam can say yes or no about that, but I think that's perfectly doable. Like so many things, it's just a matter of time and effort. But yeah, so as I say, I think that this is the idea of the one virtual learning environment and using Moodle simply to serve stuff up is probably different to most places where you would probably have, a typical thing that we would experience would be Moodle to Moodle communication. So I found this is so interesting. And I say so interesting, not just because this is my job with Catalyst. I just think this is a massive thing in the world of virtual learning environments, and Moodle especially.
You mentioned Stack Question as one of the killer apps that Moodle offers, and Code Runner is another really good one. Dave Sherwin in the comments mentioned H5P. That's natively part of Moodle, and you can have H5P activities in Moodle for free, whereas otherwise you need to hire a vendor to host for you. Another one that I'd like to give a shout out to is Big Blue Button. I'm a big fan of that, and I really like the founder there. And Quiz, Workshop, Choice Group, those are some of the really big ones that are popular here. Riana would be able to say what else are really popular.
I mean, I got into Moodle in 2003 because of Quiz, and I said, and if Moodle did nothing but Quiz, if everything else was missing, it would still be worth having the Quiz engine, because it is the most sophisticated and powerful quiz engine, free or for money, out there. So that's another very good reason for being able to link to it.
For a sysadmin, it's a real pain to diagnose sometimes when it gets a little bit spooky.
Okay. Well, we reached the hour, and that has been so interesting. And thank you so much for the discussion here. It's about to wrap up. I don't know if we have any last questions or comments. So I think
if David Pesh is still here, I just want to say thanks for all the work he's done. I borrowed a lot from him.
We'll have to, yeah. I'm sure you'll get the message. I cannot see right now the participants list. So if you have enjoyed this session, we would love you to consider getting involved further and help us grow by contributing to the development of Moodle Academy. You can do this by visiting our Get Involved course, which you will find on the front page of Moodle Academy site. You can suggest ideas for new webinars and courses, and you can vote on ideas that have been suggested by others already. We are always on the lookout for community members to help present webinars and co-create short online courses. And we would love your help making Moodle Academy more inclusive. So if you are able to, please go to our Translate Moodle Academy course and get started with helping us translate our courses and webinars into other languages. And of course, please help spread the word about Moodle Academy by telling your colleagues about the courses we offer and the webinars we run. When you complete a course, you will get a badge, and educators and administrators might also like to think about getting Moodle qualified with the Moodle Educator qualification or the Moodle Administrator qualification. Learn more about these qualifications from the Moodle Qualifications blog in the Moodle Academy's homepage. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you find this useful, and I hope to see you on the next Moodle Academy forums, courses, and of course, webinars. See you around. Thank you.